Hey, welcome. This is The Process. My name is Dr. John Bush. This is lesson 46. Wow. We are starting now a 16 block lesson on team focus and just going alphabetically from A to Z. And of course, we're all trying to help you win your fantasy football drafts. About 60% of the show, at least in my experience over the years, has been with your draft. So if you do a really good draft, you got a great chance. So I'm just trying to build your foundational knowledge. This is stuff, analysis that I do for myself. So you're getting to see, that's why I call this the process. You're seeing what I do, okay? And I've been doing since January, and will continue. And I've got lessons way ahead here as well, working on data analysis every day, doing drafts every day now until the season starts. Most of them will be best ball. Just I find that easy to do. Okay, let's move on here and start with Arizona and Atlanta, and we'll go from a metric point of view here. Here's Arizona. We'll do this first. This is 2016 to 2020, looking at each position, and then the grand total of fantasy points produced. And blue circles are the top in 5 years. So if we look at 2020, Arizona by a large margin really has found its quarterback, and the wide receivers definitely benefited here. Tight ends proved a little from 19 and 18, but not really a position that I'm working for and trying to acquire in Arizona at this point. Running backs, we've had some good years, but 2020 was probably about average. So I don't know if we're going to see a bounce back or not. So right now, I think just a thumbnail of this without deeper knowledge, and again, I go from the top down, is looking like wide receivers and quarterbacks are things to covet, with maybe some running backs, depending on if you can get some bargains there. Okay, so let's continue. What does this really mean? Well, I graph it out, and I think you can look and find key aspects. So here is the quarterback over the last 5 years, and you can see here we are from 2020. Here's our running backs from 2020. Look at the decrease here. So about average. Tight ends, kind of low that is. And then look, wide receivers have always played a big role in Arizona, and they really had a grand year last year. Don't know if we'll get a little regression, but I still think, your drafting of wide receivers from Arizona is certainly something that I would be considering. Probably means some of the deeper wide receivers are worth investigating as well. So that's just kind of, again, just getting a thumbnail foundational, kind of a fingertip knowledge as you're going through the drafts here. Here's looking at the data from a percentage of 5-year positional usage and a 2020 positional usage. So if I look at the 5-year totals and make a percentage of each position from the total, we see that quarterbacks have been at 23%, running backs 27%, tight ends definitely avoid 9%, And running back, wide receivers have been at 40. And so if you look at 2020, what you see is the quarterbacks have gone up, the running backs have gone down, and pretty much everything has stayed the same. And here's the difference, just so we can track this. So the big flip in 2020 was, in fact, the quarterback going up and the running backs going down. So I just pulled one of the latest ADP PPR view just for us to look at. And we see overall pick and the pick by round. And I think Kyler Murray is going to be one of the top quarterbacks, about 40th down in picks, 4th round target. It doesn't seem like a bargain, but it doesn't seem like, oh, I did a bad thing drafting. Just depends on your strategy here. Best ball, if I find myself, there and I'm satisfied with my first 3 picks, I might. Probably not looking to grab him that early, and probably won't be drafting a lot of him, but I certainly wouldn't draft him earlier than, mid 4th round. But Hopkins figures to be the top dog as far as wide receivers. And what we see, and this is kind of interesting here, and I think there's some opportunity. If you look at the overall, and Hopkins is the 2nd round pick, that seems reasonable. I'm not sure I'm, stretching to grab him. I think there's some others at that position that are worthy as well. So, but I think the trick, and this is where you might spend some time, and I haven't really done that, is you can pick up the number 2, 12th, 13th, or 14th round. So I believe, given the usage, and so we're starting to do the Ouija board a little bit, so I'm going down a little bit. If there is a clear number 2, which the public kind of leads to Kirk, but they're not sure. I think Moore's the young rookie, and then of course AJ Green is probably just there as a backup play. They're thinking Kirk or Moore, and just depends on when you could pick these up. I think if you could get around later draft capital, it might be worth a stretch, maybe in best ball, maybe your wide receiver 6 or so, 5 or 6, maybe. Not sure I'm going directly afterwards, but I'm saying there's opportunity. I think if you think there's going to be a clear number 2, then I think there's some advantages there. And but I just have not got so deep into the process yet here mid-May to do that. But I would just kind of throw that out to you. Running backs, they're used at the 23% last year. So there is some value. Definitely your running back 2-3 types. And we got Evans at round 6 and Connor at round 8. So if they are a 1A and B, then it would probably say grab Connor later. If you think Edmonds is 2/3 and Connor is 1/3, then Edmonds might be a play. Probably in best ball, my wide receiver 3 or 4, it might be worth a gamble. I haven't really decided yet. I think if you see either one in round 9 or later, then it's probably time to collect one, at least 2 rounds of value. So Edmonds at 8 and Connor at 10, I think are solid values there. I'm just not sure, given how running back hungry best ball players are and redraft players are these days. I don't know. But right now, I guess if I had to pick, I would lean towards Connor unless I have any knowledge that he's not going to be, is maybe in a 60-40, that it may be worth a later pick. But I'm not turning down Edmonds, but I'm not sure I'm reaching for what his value is. I'm looking for a little bonus there, maybe round 7. Okay. So, and I think I've got one last graph. So I just think about the players a little bit. And here's just the graphical knowledge of the data I showed before. The differences and the positional usages is blue from 5-year. You can see the quarterback, running back, and tight end and wide receivers. Okay, you can see wide receivers definitely at 40% here. And 2020 is in red. Not really big difference if you graph it like that. Looks like you see a decline here and an increase there. So that's why I'm looking, and it might be worth your research time to try to pick that wide receiver 2 here just because of that trend. The pink bar is looking at the difference on this axis here. This is a difference between the positional usage of 2020 versus the last 5 years. Anything below is a negative, anything above is a positive, and really the only thing we've seen that's really produced above in the positive is the quarterback. So Kyler Murray certainly is a solid target. Just not sure I'm picking him up as soon as being drafted here. I think there's some others. I tend to be a little bit mid-round, later round QB because I think the difference between them is not so great. I think you can make it up elsewhere. But anyway, certainly in a flex league or something, super flex, then of course Murray would probably be going in round 2 or 1. Okay. That is Arizona. So I'm doing 2 teams per lesson. So we will now move to Atlanta in the NFC South here. Here is the positions, the 16 to 20. I circled the 5-year top and then the grand total. And if you just look at the grand total, pretty clear that the running backs, the wide receivers are producing lots of points, and tight ends are not so strong. Ryan has seen some drop, so people are saying, Ryan is a late round. That's true, but I don't know if he's, I'm not sure you'll get a top out of him at all. So I would consider drafting him at a little bit of a bargain here because his peak year may have been 218 and 220 we've declined. Running backs have been a regional issue. 2016 was the glory years, and we've kind of hit the doldrums here, and 2020 wasn't an exception here. So that's probably, there's nothing to forecast that things should go up so much here. Keep your eyes open. Tight ends. I know that the rookie tight end was collected, so forth. Hayden Hurst wasn't the big answer. Here's 2019. So, it certainly 2020 declined. I don't know If they keep Hayden Hurst, if they do, then will we be splitting some numbers there? So I would be cautious about in redraft this year any tight ends from Atlanta unless you can get a bargain. I think wide receivers are the play as usual, much more than in Arizona it was quarterback and wide receivers. I think here I'm just playing the wide receivers and potentially deeper wide receivers here can pay off as well. So we'll look at the ADPs of the wide receiver crew here in just a second. So when we graph this and you just kind of look at 2020, here's a decline in the quarterback, decline in the running back, the rushing game, decline a little bit in the tight ends, and pretty much maybe a little bit of increase with the wide receivers. So I'm feeling good about the wide receivers and kind of neutral about the quarterback and a little concerned about the tight end and the running back. Just kind of thinking about this a little bit. Positional usages, nothing really significantly changed. If you look at the differences, the running backs declined, and that's been something that's happened, and the wide receivers have actually increased. So that's kind of what I'm looking at, the deeper wide receiver crew. Here's Ryan. He's a ninth round pick, almost round 10. Yeah, that seems reasonable. I would probably, in best ball, I might pick him up at that, but I'm not sure. I think he's a safe play. Let's say that, safe play. There's starting to be some discussion about Mike Davis, round 7. I think he could be that. I don't think I would reach for him, but that seems reasonable if you need a wide receiver 2 or 3. I think he did do pretty good last year at Carolina. Hurston and Pitts, the public can't figure them out, and the public says they're the same. So that probably means they'll split. And so my concern continues, and I think the public is seeing the same thing. Yes, if you knew for sure it was a 70-30 split with Hurst, then he might be worth a 9-round pick, but who knows? It's a little early, and I think this is just file this in the back just to see. I think there's going to be people reaching for Pitts and redrafts. I think that's your dynasty play, not your redraft play here. I think potentially splitting points doesn't help the rookie. If Hurst is not on the team, something happens, then okay, he may be worth a role as a spot play or a streamer type. Okay. Ridley, to me, in the wide receivers, is somebody that I am definitely drafting in best ball right now, probably a little earlier than I should. So I think I'm bullish on him. And I think his talent versus Julio's injury, he's a little getting long in the tooth. The public says he's, worth half of Ridley at a 4th-round pick. Seems reasonable. So I think I would take Jones, but I wouldn't reach for him. Okay. And so I am taking Russell Gage, deep, my wide receiver 6. I think that's a great play. I would take him. I think that's a great best ball play, and I'm trying to get shares of Russell Gage here. Okay, so let's look at the landscape view here. I think looking at your triangles on differences, the only thing we've seen is the wide receivers. 2020, I'm thinking get Gage late, and if you can get a bargain on Jones, he may be worth. And Ridley, if you don't take him probably at his price or a little earlier, you probably not gonna get him. I think he's a little bit undervalued right now, a little bit, especially in best ball. But just in the back of your mind, realize, that Ryan has declined a little bit. So it's not just, oh, I'm all in. I'm not all in, but I'm optimistic, shall we say. Okay, so this is what I'm going to be doing for the next 15 lessons, just this style. Just starting to breeze into the players a little bit, just letting you marinate on kind of the landscape a little bit, okay? We're not just, uh, signing in blood, taking what I'm saying here. Still early, let things play out a little bit. But right now, I think there are some things to consider in these two teams. Okay, so this is the process. My name is Dr. John Bush. I hope you enjoyed this, and stay tuned. We'll be hitting all the teams in the next lessons. Okay, come back.